it comes to feeling the love, we are very honored for the entire month of February through the Healing Hubs program to get to bring in this gentleman that you're about to hear from. This gentleman is born and raised in Milwaukee, has done an incredible amount of change agent work, working on himself, which in turn has allowed him to build up the community. His brand is called Heal the Hood. It's one of the first brands that when I moved to the city, because I've always been interested in community development, his is one of the first brands that I heard of, and I was so excited to get to meet the founder, and now I'm very honored to call this man a brother. He's an absolute expert in literacy and social emotional development for youth, has experience working in prisons with juveniles, and just basically anything that you ask for someone who needs to have a background to talk about, the DEI type of concepts and how to actually heal our hearts so that we can heal our homes and heal the hood. So with that being said, make some noise for our brother, Ajamou Butler. Heal the hood. Yes,
Those just gave a phenomenal intro. Like that was a vibe. I need you to just walk around with me every day and just introduce me to people like that. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So we got a lot of material to cover, and so I'm going to kind of dive right on in. I see a lot of familiar faces in the room. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Ajamou Butler. As he said, I'm the founder of Heal the Hood, and this year we celebrate 13 years in the game. And I'm talking about that is a feat. We're going to shout out to 13 years, because in 13 years, I can't tell y'all how many times I wanted to quit doing this type of work. In 13 years, I can't tell y'all how many community organizations have come and went and given up on themselves within 13 weeks, 13 days. Some of us give up on our vision within 13 hours of dreaming about it. So when we talk about being able to put in work in a city like Milwaukee, which is the trenches, we know Milwaukee is the trenches, being able to continuously do this work and grow our capacity over 13 years has truly been something phenomenal, and I'm beyond thankful for it. I started to grow my impact and my reach and do work in high schools overseas. I went to South Africa, had the pleasure of working with some sophomores and juniors over there, and those were some of the most intelligent human beings I have ever met in my life. And those young people who I met in South Africa, they come from poverty. We come from poverty over here in America, but I'm telling you, that poverty over there in Durban, South Africa, and Kwamashu, South Africa, where I was at, that's a different conversation. However, them babies speak 5, 6, 7 different languages. They're mathematical geniuses. They play different instruments. They do creative writing. They talk about God all the time. There's something in them that says education is going to be my thing that's going to free me from this thing. Right? And there's so much more I could go in on that, but we're just going to leave it there. And then I had the pleasure of going to Belize. I was in Central America for 3 weeks. And I had the pleasure of working with about 200 students from Belmopan Methodist High School. And it's the same thing. And Belize is a third world country, so again, they come from different struggles than ours. However, the way they reverence education, the way they're able to look at their culture and find so much beauty and value in their culture and how they want to amplify that, it blew my mind. And I just always thought, like, I want to bring that same energy to the classrooms in Milwaukee and to the classrooms all around Wisconsin where I do these work. I'm a 7-time author, and I love that bro mentioned that I'm big on literacy development. One thing that I've learned is a big piece of the violence that our young people deal with is because they cannot express that frustration, that pain, that irritation, that trauma, that drama, so on and so forth. And so they got all of these emotions bubbling up in their chest. And then as we know with a shaking up soda, it does what it does when you get a little bit of release, right? I want to say this, and then we're going to just go ahead and dive right in. I did 14 months of a curriculum at Bell Phillips Juvenile Detention Center. It was all based around creative writing, literacy development, making healthy decisions, creating and building cognitive sides of the brain. And I really loved working with them young people. They were so intelligent. And it was their circumstances that was making them make these nasty decisions. And it was a hell of a ride, but I thank God for it. Nonetheless, we had this one session. We watched a documentary. It's on YouTube by Kirk Franklin. It's called Fatherhood. Beautiful documentary. If you never watched it, I absolutely recommend you do so. So we took a couple of days to watch it. We had some discussions, some writing prompts, and we really dealt with that parental frustration, because I'm sure, we all understand in this climate, in this generation, that's a big barrier for our babies to reach their potential, is the nurturing from their parents, or the lack thereof, the nurturing from their parents. So we used that documentary, and after the second day of us having this conversation, there was a young man who, when everybody was released to go back to their cells, he went back to his cell and he just started tearing everything up. I mean, you could hear him kicking the walls and throwing his cot everywhere and throwing his stuff around. And so the guards and them was finna rush his cell. I'm like, let me go holler at little bro right quick. Let me just try to I know he traumatized. I know he triggered. He feeling some things in his chest. And what he told me through his anger, through his resentment, through his pain, through his lack thereof, was that he was so mad at his parents and it's their fault that he was in that situation. In so many words, he felt that he didn't have a choice but to do the things that he was doing because he never had that push. And so the work that we do at Heal the Hood is so real. It's so real, and I love being up front in the trenches and working with those ones that we say can't be worked with. I love being able to unlock that thing and say, I know you want to hurt somebody, but let's talk about this thing. In this world, we can make a little bit more impact with our words than we can with our hands. It's the truth. And it don't sound good. Somebody piss you off. You hold on, man, what? And I get it. I respect that. But there's value in being able to sharpen that brain and sharpen our heart. So, I mean, I wish I had a little bit more time. We started a little bit late, so I'm giving a very abridged version of who I am. But I'll also be here in the next coming week, so we're going to get a whole lot of that conversation. Beloved, do we got some napkins and a bottle of water? That'll be a blessing. This activity we're going to do today is called the opportunity versus the deficit. And it's going to be a look at how poverty alters decision-making in youth. And I came up with this particular workshop and activity back in the pandemic. I came up with it in the pandemic. But what I've realized is we still, as educators and those of us who do the work with the young folks, we still face some of those same barriers and problems academically, socially, decision-making, so on and so forth. A study had came out that children who come from underserved communities, black and brown communities, poor and disenfranchised communities, in that 1 year of the pandemic suffered 3 to 5 years of learning loss and progress. In 1 year. Now this is already coming from communities I'm sure most of us know in this room that's already behind when it comes to that academic thing. Reading, writing, numbers, arithmetics. And so I came up with this workshop because I needed us as healers and helpers to shift our perspective a little bit and really understand the demographic that we're dealing with. And understand we got to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes sometimes. And that's one big way we can be better champion advocates, if you will. So in this activity we're going to do, it's called the opportunity versus the deficit. Everybody, I need them to have some sort of note-taking instrument. So whether it's going to be paper and pencil, you feel free to use your phone for all my digital saints. But everybody is going to need to be able to take some notes throughout this whole conversation because we're going to talk about a lot of good teaching. But in this particular activity, we're going to need to add some basic point values. I'm not going to have y'all doing arithmetics and algebraic equations. We're talking about some basic addition and subtraction. So let me make sure everybody got them a utensil or something to type or write with. Where your utensil at? You ain't got to participate. Where your paper at? That's only half the battle. You got pencil, no paper. There we go. There we go. I love it. I love it. All right. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to assign everybody a point value in this room. Everybody is going to have a different point value. The point values represent your opportunities to be great in this world, your opportunities to laugh in this world, your opportunities to simply succeed in this world. Once everybody get their point value, I'm going to run down to us a list of questions and scenarios and situations. Each of the situations that I give us, we have to make a choice on how to handle that situation. I'm going to read all of the options to you all, and I'm going to let you know how many points to add or subtract from your point value based on the decision that you choose to make. Now, a couple of things I want to know before we go ahead and dive in. For one, I'm not going to give y'all a lot of context when I give y'all the scenarios. I'm going to give y'all a blanket breakdown of what's going on. And I'm going to let your lived experience make your decision. That's the first thing I want to mention. The second thing I want to mention is try not to think from that hero perspective, because a lot of us know better. A lot of us are well learned. If we were the ones in the streets, we obviously wouldn't be in this room, right? But I don't want us to think from that perspective. I want us to think from the perspective of the 13, 12, 14-year-old young man or woman with their back against the wall, and it's like they damned if they do, and what's the answer to that sentence? They damned if they don't. So I don't want us to think from the perspective of we know it all, I would do this because this, I'm going to get a couple more point values. Sometimes it ain't all about the points. Sometimes you're just trying to get from up out of that fire. Y'all with me? All right, so let's assign some points. So let's do my first group right here. So y'all 5, we're going to give y'all 10 because y'all sat in the front. So y'all should have sat in the front so you could have got more points. We're going to give y'all 10, all right? So write down that at the top of your paper or put it at the top of your notes because, again, as I give y'all scenarios and you make decisions, you're just going to simply subtract from that starting point value. My next 2 rows, I'm going to give y'all, let's give y'all 6 points. Let's give y'all 6 points. Somewhere kind of in the middle. Rocky, I'm gonna give you 2 points.
I'm all the way in the back.
I'm gonna give you 2 points just because you all the way back in the back. Everybody else, let's give y'all 5 points. Let's give y'all 5 points. All right. So again, you write those point values at the top of that page. Let's run through these scenarios. Let me just pull up my notes here. She got 2 points. That's bogus.
What about him? He got 5.
You got 1 point.
Oh,
Because
no.
you left class. So get your pencil and your paper. Come on with your activity. Come on with the activity.
Yes, sir.
All right, you got 1 point value. All right, let me go ahead and start with these scenarios. I'm going to read them through a couple of times just so we all on the same page. Here we go. You are a 5th grader. Your mom works 3rd shift. Your father is not in the picture. And you have 3 younger siblings that you help to take care of and get ready for school. You have 2 choices. Your first choice is allow your younger siblings to sleep in longer in the morning. However, everybody misses breakfast at home and at school, and you make it to school with just enough time to get to your first class. Or your second option is wake up 2 hours early to get you and your siblings ready so that everybody can have a hearty breakfast and make it to school in good timing. However, everybody is falling asleep midday because they're so tired. If you choose that first option, where you're going to allow your siblings to sleep in a little bit longer, but y'all miss out on breakfast and make it to school just in time, I want you to add 3 points to your point value. If you choose that second option, where you're going to wake up 2 hours early to get everybody ready so that we can have breakfast and we make it to school in good timing, however, everybody is now falling asleep in midday, take away 4 points from your point value.
I have a question.
Okay.
This is based off what we think you would actually do if you were that 3rd grader?
If you were that 3rd grader, or maybe you work with that 3rd grader, maybe you got a 5th grader that you actually work with that has to deal with this scenario and you watch them deal with it.
And you want us to be honest, right?
I want you to be honest as you possibly can be.
Okay.
I need to be as honest as you possibly can be. Everybody on the same page, so we done did our math, we got our point value, we either gonna add 3 or we're gonna take away 4. Here is our next scenario. You have 6 of you as siblings, and y'all are doing virtual learning. The internet is not the strongest, and only 3 or 4 of the computer chargers work. You have 2 choices. As the oldest sibling, allow your younger siblings to use the chargers and available internet so that they can do virtual learning, but you miss out on school for the day. Or leave and go to the local library to participate in virtual learning, but you got to leave the younger siblings at home alone, which may not be the best option. If you pick that first option to let everybody else use internet and the computer chargers, take away 4 points from your point value. If you take the second option and you say, I'm going to go get my education, so I'm going to the library and I got to leave them babies at home, take away 3 points from your point value. Again, we damned if we do, we damned if we don't sometimes. We're going to get a chance to add more. I know, Rocky like, bro, I started with negative 10 points and now I got to take more away. I know, I got you. Don't worry. All right, here we go. Our next scenario. Your family is unhoused and homeless. You bounce around with some other family members and you lack reliable transportation to get back and forth to school. You have 2 choices as the oldest sibling, right? You can ask your parent to stay with one stable family member so that transportation can be set up for you to go back and forth from school because you love school. Or you choose to remain with the family unit so that your parents feel less guilty and you can assist with taking care of your younger siblings. If you take that first option, add 6 points to your value. And if you take that second option, take away 6 points from your value. Now, with that, I want us to keep a couple of things in mind. There's a real thing that's called parent guilt, where parents make their kids feel bad about achieving further than they might have achieved in their lifetime at that stage. So when I talk about that guilt thing with the parent, I really want us to, just tap into that a little bit. Just pay attention to that a little bit, okay? And let me know if y'all need me to rerun the scenario back with the points. Y'all all right? Everybody with me? We got about 3 more of these, about 3, maybe 4 more of these. That scenario. This was about cameras on and off. This is a big thing in the virtual area, if you will. Cameras on, cameras off. Here we go. As a student, you're in school. You got 2 choices. Turn your camera on or off. If you turn your camera on, you receive participation points from the teacher, but unfortunately you reveal your background that's dilapidated and you don't have any furniture. or turn your camera off to save you the embarrassment. However, you still fully participate in the chat box. If you choose the first option to keep your camera on, even though we're going to see a not so well kept background, add 3 points to your value. Add 3 points to your value. Or if you choose to turn that camera off to save yourself that embarrassment, but you still tapped in that chat, add 2 points to your value. Add 2 points to your value. Okay?
Ain't no choice to blur the background, like.
I'm sorry?
You can't blur the background, like.
We're gonna talk about that.
I was gonna say,
you know, but come
that's
on,
what I
I'm
was
leaving it to
thinking.
you.
I
I
was
told you,
like,
I don't want to
well,
give the
when
most
we were that
scenario. I'm gonna let
age,
y'all make y'all,
we didn't have, I don't think they had that option for us.
We was
All
on
right,
AOL.
let's see.
We was on AOL too.
Okay, this is a good one right here. This is a good one. Your parents are on a fixed income, which restricts your access to peer-approved clothing, extracurricular activity, and other school-related costs and needs. You have 2 choices. Sell dope to get money for your yearly fees, your sports team, your material possessions to avoid being bullied, or go an entire middle and high school years without participating in any extracurricular activities, thus limiting your opportunities to strengthen your social and emotional skills, and you wear the same clothes multiple times so you get bullied. If you choose that first option, add 5 points to your value. If you choose the second option, take away 5 points from your value. And I want to start up here with this managing versus leading. I want somebody to give me just 2 or 3 observations that they see from this image before I get my spiel. Talk to us.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just gonna start with that bottom with the managing and the leading. Like.
Okay. No, we starting up here. Start in order. Start all things in order. Talk to
I
me.
gotta step real confident. I'm a little blind, man.
That's all right. And then I also, again, I'm in teacher mode now, so I need to make sure I hear multiple voices. So if I ain't heard no voices, I might start pointing on a couple folks, because we all finna work this thing out together. Talk to us.
Okay, so the first one, managing, is like,
Yep.
it's just showing that, like, trying to, like, pull somebody to the finish line ain't gonna help them, but leading them to it, teaching them, and then helping them understand it is gonna get them a lot farther in life than you holding their hand. Listening to respond and listening to understand, it's like, it's a difference, because when you hear somebody, you can just not always want to hear what they gotta say, because it ain't what you want to hear. But listening to understand is like taking everything in, because you never know when you're gonna need it and like what situation you're gonna need it in. And the same thing with the managing and the listening is, managing and the leading for the first one is like, you can't hold somebody's hand forever. You gotta teach them how to lead themselves.
Okay, I like that. Let's get some snaps on that. Let's get some snaps on that. Let's get some love on that. Now, we're going to focus on one at a time. I love brother energy. You hear me? He said we're going to do all of them plus, and we're going to go into next week's lesson, okay? All right, let me get one more person to just give me some feedback on just picture one. Let me get one more person whose voice I have not heard just yet. Talk to us.
All right, so looking at the managing and the leadership, I think that my take on it is the leadership is like, it's extending it out, right? There's more people. It's like building up other people to reach your set goal rather than trying to do it all on your own. If you try to do it all on your own, you can't do that. Like, just like here now today, we have all these things going on, but we have multiple people in different rooms leading each room. So that's why leadership is important, to train and build up people under you.
I like that.
I like that.
Couple of things I'm gonna point out on this one. We have to realize this is a boat pulling a boat. Let that boat be great and do what the hell that boat was designed to do.
Amen.
When you talk about managing and leading, I'm gonna just illuminate it for you. I'm gonna give you some resources, and I'm gonna let you do what you designed to do. It's one thing I can't stand as a micromanager. If you hire me to do a task, it's because you know I'm good at that task. Let me execute on that task. Now, what's another thing? If you checking in with me and you seeing no or slow progress, then you might have to, pull me along a little bit, and that's why you're gonna have an attitude, because I'm supposed to be a boat and navigating through the water, but now you got to hold my hand, how my brother was saying. But I just want us to think about how we really choose to lead those who follow after us, be it siblings, be it folks in the community, so on and so forth. Right? Illuminate the way and let people be good at what they are good at. Make sense? All right, let me hear maybe 2 perspectives on the listening to respond versus listening to understand, which is super critical when you talk about becoming a champion. Talk to us. And then we'll come right to you, big brother. Yes, sir.
I say with that image, you can just see as if it was like a flow stream of a conversation. And especially when you look at the sponge, the water hits every last part of the sponge and it soaks up every last bit of what was just said. You feel me? Like that is, the whole conversation goes through the whole body. You feel that. However, when you look at the brick, there's holes within the brick, and you see the water only gets into the holes of the brick, and that could be like it treads on something that's inside of you, and you hold on to internalize that one bit when there's so much more other water there.
My God, that's a good word. All right, y'all, we're gonna end the session. Thank y'all for being here. That was a good breakdown. Talk to us, sir.
So you look at the brick, and it's almost similar to what he said. You look at the brick, and the brick is like what most of us are, the majority of us. When you pour that water in there, that brick will only take in so much before it's looking to like let something loose, so it's ricocheting off. Versus the sponge, you sitting there, and what most people want you to do is just taking the information. I'm just speaking for you to listen, not speaking for you to respond. So you be like a sponge and just take it all in before you do get a response.
That's good. And I appreciate you pointing out the splashback, because now I'm not even soaking nothing. Because my listening ear is not properly on. So now all the water that I'm supposed to receive is just, and now we're not even making no progress. And I don't think I need to go too heavily into this last image of, sometimes we need to shut the hell up and do the work. Stop telling people to do it and let's start to do it. There's that saying that says, if your car breaks down on the side of the road, you're more likely to get help if you lift your hood up and somebody, sees you at least digging under the hood a little bit versus sitting in your car waiting for somebody like, damn, I hope somebody kind of see me stranded over here and just want to be a good Samaritan. I'm more inclined to help those who helping themselves.